what are you doing? And
Not good much.
I asked them to come and speak because they have some experience in mentoring some young men who are in a very similar situation to the Williamston Youth Academy right behind us. So I asked them to come and share what that is like and what they have done. So,
Can we put the monkey, or can I put the monkey on your back for a
yes,
minute?
please.
What is the Williamston Academy?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
So,
know
right.
it's similar, but
no, that's
are
not.
the boys the same?
It is a level 4 home. They get kids from DSS who kind of need a little bit extra care. They also get some kids from what I understand from kind of the juvie system who don't need quite as much care, and so they're kind of that in between. So it's all men or young men, 10 to 18, I believe. Though there's a little bit of wiggle room. Avery was telling me about a young man who is 20 who will be helping us on Saturday, and it's just a wonderful young man. But all sorts of different backgrounds as far as behavioral issues and all that sort of thing. But it kind of sums up what that is. So,
How many of those are there?
26 right now.
So they got, last
Yep.
time I heard it was one.
Yeah, no, they've definitely expanded.
Wow.
They've been having a few challenges and all that sort of stuff. The police were over yesterday, and there was a bit of a fight.
Really?
But, yep, come on up.
No,
Well, I don't know what we're gonna say.
That's okay. Do you want a seat?
no, that's up to you.
No, I don't care.
This will be very informal, and what we will try to do is to share our experience. Keep in mind that it's a unique experience. It may or may not generalize, although Aaron's description of this facility sounds very similar. And that this whole thing came out of the fact that when Jane and I was able to retire. Jane got forced into retirement by virtue of selling the business out from under her. And maybe that'll happen one day. And we were hoping that we'd be able to take advantage of that time and with service opportunities. And it's hard to talk about this without sounding like doing a little bit of this, but just from a matter of fact standpoint, we were looking for things like this to do. And, I looked at in Greenville, and we're south of Lickville, a couple of miles, so we're out in the boonies, and all of a sudden realized that there was something that was literally in our backyard, and it is called Generations. I call it Generations Group Home. I don't know.
I think that's what it is.
But again, just imagine this out in the country. It's really more in houses. Some of them are, I guess, more dorm facilities like this would be. And they had been there since 1991.
But it wasn't broadcast at first because they were afraid the community would not accept it because all these boys had been abused sexually or have abused. So they was kept quiet for a long time.
And the person that founded it her sister was a victim, and her whole thing was, I want to try to do everything I can to try to stop the cycle. And if you look at the website, you'll see that phrase, because what happens is a person is abused and then they go on to be an abuser. I don't know the percentage of how that exactly happens, but it is a strong enough cycle that intervention is something to do. And
Pretty high.
the people that they were serving were the same from DS. There was a DSS relationship, and there was a juvenile. And even at a young age, so many of these young men knew the system, had been in the system for years. So we started out saying, okay, go in there and say, what can we do?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you'll have to help me because I don't remember. And the first thing we did was to go on a Sunday after church. They would write us and tell us what this young man liked to eat and what his interests were. And believe it or not, one of the most common interests and hobbies they had was needlework.
Crochet.
Yeah, specifically. I don't know the difference. She knows. I mean, just imagine a bunch of teenagers who
Crochet.
at all, but these are kids that had trouble past, and I don't know what it was about that seemed to. It was
I don't know.
Part of the I think so.
And they can probably. It's not like knitting where you have two.
No,
spikes.
you don't have anything sharp.
Right.
Yeah.
A crochet hook is probably more acceptable
Mm-hmm.
after a certain.
And I'm not sure about the levels that you mentioned, level 4 a while ago, but Generations is divided into 2 main campuses. One campus is not under lockup. And, I mean, they just don't want to leave. And they're there for a relatively short period of time, because the first thing we did was to go, as I said, maybe go to the local Burger King or whatever and get whatever they said they liked. Take something that you thought was of interest and just visit with them.
Because they don't have anybody to come see them. Some of the kids do have family that visit, but then these are boys, the ones that we have seen are boys that don't have anybody around to come visit.
May I ask who is the sponsor? I mean, how's it funded?
That I don't know.
You weren't supposed to ask that.
No, well, I'll be honest with you, and
Yeah,
it's a business.
they
And I imagine
receive
this
government.
is too.
They receive government funding.
Yeah.
I think they started out possibly as
Yeah,
donations.
and I'm
stuff.
sure that it probably fits in some kind of a nonprofit or something like that, but it is not a total volunteer, total missional kind of thing. And I will also need to say, while they do not discourage anything to do with any kind of religion, Christianity, presenting the gospel, whatever, you don't have to worry about being politically correct and all that when you go visit. At the same time, it is not a religious organization. But yeah, and I don't mean that negatively or cynically or not, but it's a business. And it's a business that ends up getting funded by government funding and whatever all the funds that are put into that, as well as fundraising and a lot of volunteer kinds of things.
I think they have last I heard, they had a 98% success rate. That's even after 2 years, the kids can't even have a parking ticket. Or, I mean, just nothing. So
So do they go from this housing
they can
school?
to go back. No, they are schooled
School,
there
right.
through Greenville County.
Greenville County.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and actually their schooling situation is
They go
more
year
advanced in that it's mostly online, and they have Greenville County teachers to come in and kind of oversee it. But a lot of it is self-paced learning, and they may be, I don't know why they want to do it this way, because it just increases the time that they have on their own, but they're out of school by noon.
Well,
Usually.
they do a morning session and an
Yeah,
afternoon
so it's-
session.
but it's-
Some of them
it's
go in
not
the
a
morning,
full
some of them
day.
go at night, afternoon, I think. But
Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of the online stuff.
Mhm.
Is they can hear, if they have a problem with math, they can hear the lesson in the morning, afternoon, and at night. You
Yeah.
can hear it 3 different times.
And
I interrupted you.
no. Like I said, this is informal, and I'll probably be jumping all around. I'll try to bring it to, how this applies to, potentially applies to the church or the individuals in the church. At first, we were meeting with boys that were in the facility that is not locked up. And they ask us, and this is one of the kind of interesting things that you find out, because you have to find out when you get involved with an organization like this, the right way to do things and the wrong way to do things. For example, the most wrong way to do things is say, hey, what you in for? You know, you just don't do that. But we could only meet with one very infrequently, not the same person over and over again. And the reason was these guys were there, hopefully would be leaving before too long, trying to get back out into society, and they didn't want them building relationships with somebody too strong. Now, 180 degrees from that, I don't even remember how we got started. Maybe, I don't know, they came to us or we were asking or whatever, and they said, hey, we've got a kid that just came here. And this was September 2 years ago. In the facility that is locked up.
He was 11.
Yeah, he was 11 years old. And said, we would like for you all to come and meet with him on whatever schedule you want to. And what we ended up doing is going every Monday afternoon.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. Yeah, every other Monday afternoon for 2 hours. And that was kind of a maximum time that they set on. And what we did was to, thanks to Jane, we would take games. Obviously, we picked up food, and he would make absolutely sure we knew exactly what he wanted. You know, it started out with pizza, and then it morphed into hamburgers. And
if you want a good chocolate shake, go to Jack in the Box.
He liked that chocolate shake.
They're good.
Which was probably not a good idea to hype him up on that much sugar and turn him loose to somebody else. And just visit, play games. I forced aviation on him. We'd do the thing on the iPad, the flying game. I built a model airplane.
Yeah, we took out, what was it, Monopoly or Yahtzee or something, and he said, where's the electronic version? I still had mine from high school. So.
He got an education in antique games.
And Woody had to learn to play board games. He's not a card player or a board gamer, but he is now. He is now. He will if he has to.
But basically, we were not doing any counseling. We were not doing any overt teaching. We were just being with him and showing him, because he didn't have anything. He didn't have anybody.
Can you imagine at 11 and just?
He did. They were out there.
Or they, not concerned or don't care or whatever.
And it's kind of hard to believe, but we did this for over 2 years, or for right at 2 years.
That was a longer time than usual. 18 months is usually about the max they're allowed to stay in the system. But I think because of his age, when he got there, the hardest thing to do is you can't touch him.
You can do a one-arm hug.
You can do a one-arm hug, and that's it. And it just.
What happened to him?
He got to go to a foster, which was a big positive deal after being in there. I mean, the facilities are nice. Of course, they tear them up. They can't keep them. All the furniture has to be extremely robust, because somebody's always tearing something up. Somebody's always trying to figure out how to fool the system. They become masters of that, or they're masters before they ever come, because they've been in the system.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play poker with RJ.
He was, or is, very bright, very street smart. If he could cheat at cards, he would, but he'd do it. How'd you do that? Well, you showed me your cards. I said, I didn't. I was just holding them like, but they end up having to be that way. He was very mannerly. He was a nice kid. If he were here tonight, you would never know that there was any issue, behavioral, criminal, whatever. The other thing is you don't know what their situation is, what their story is, what their problem is, other than in a very generic way because of where they are. And you're not allowed to know, and you probably don't want to.
That might bias you in some, or
Yeah. Right.
Did they ever talk about that?
No, not every now and then some little something would come out, but they're probably told not to talk with you about it. I don't know that for sure, but I would imagine that if we did, or if it had, we probably would have, even though we weren't told to, would have tried to change the subject or whatever.
I'm jumping in again.
No,
You talked
please.
about the two. There's a road that runs between the two areas. The area with the, I think there are 4 homes, and I don't remember how many boys, 12, 15. I think the whole facility can house 77. And where I got that number, I don't know, but I think that's right. They're on the houses on this side and houses on that. But RJ was in what they call pathways, and those are boys who have sexually abused, but they have some other problems, not necessarily mental, and you would never know it, but ADD or something like that. So that was the difference in those.
And you're talking about, excuse me,
Why did they allow y'all to develop a relationship with him and they wouldn't with the other?
if the people in that side of it, they felt like it was more needed there because they knew they were going to be there longer, is the only thing I can figure about it. But yeah, it was completely opposite. The others, they didn't want developing a relationship with anybody outside other than the people they might be going back to with family, or if they went to the foster home or whatever.
Do you all still have a relationship with him?
No, we do have address, and we sent him a birthday card and probably send him a Christmas card. We haven't heard anything from him.
Checked on him. I checked with his counselor the other day and said he was doing great, liked his new school. But just to give you an idea about RJ, he said these 2 people that he was going to live with were vegans. And he said,
Vegan.
so he said, after about a week, I'm going to be lying in the kitchen floor saying, meat, meat.
He is a charming young boy. In fact, probably to a fault. I mean, yeah, he can work you. You know, and there were episodes where maybe he was having a bad day or something like that. And that would be one thing. From time to time, someday he'd come in there and it was like the first time you ever met. But other days you'd come in and we were grandma and grandpa. But most of the time it was that way. But one day he came in and said, have y'all ever considered adoption?
Really?
It just tear your heart out.
Yeah. So, you know, if somebody had been in their 30s or 40s or something like that, we got to play the age card, you know, but we, you know,
Did they ever let you take him out, or do you have to bring things in to say?
they, as they grow through the system, there are different levels. Now, again, maybe not the same level that you were talking about.
Because
But
he had to reach,
There's a different level set.
yeah, he had to reach level 4 before he could be acceptable for
Same.
Yeah.
foster.
Now,
But-
when you've been with a child, do you make any kind of report back to the staff, or do they ask you how it went?
No, there were times that we would, I guess most of our contact is checking with them to make sure what might be appropriate in terms of a birthday gift. And again, he could work you on that. He'd let you know what he wanted for Christmas. And the interesting thing about it, and I'm kind of going down rabbit holes here, but the interesting thing about it is they don't lack for anything. I mean, material. They don't. They get money through DSS. I mean, he'd come in,
New pair of tennis
new
shoes.
pair of tennis shoes, you know, every month or 2 months or something like that.
That they get to spend their money on.
And Christmas, gosh, get a whole lot more than my grandkids get.
So
You
they
know.
take them out?
They do. It's based on a reward or behavioral kind of thing. And then the other thing that we have done corporately at Lickville is what they call star parties, and you know more about that than I do.
The boys get a star on Friday, I guess. And if they keep that star all week, they get to go to the star party every Friday night. There's one every Friday night at 6 o'clock. And to me, they have done an outstanding job to come up with one side. Bridges has like, you could have 30 or 35 boys that you have to prepare for. And Pathways, they're fewer over there. But you try to come up with, you feed them something. They don't care what, but you better take it with you because they're gonna eat it. And then some sort of activity. One time we went, they made T-shirts, colored T-shirts, and another time we Lindsay, one of our pastors, did a recreational game with them, and they played in the gym. So plan some sort of activity or a movie and popcorn or something like that. But if they get to keep their star, then they get to go to that star party. And to come up with 104 star parties every year, to have somebody volunteer to do that, I think the organization has done extremely well. But it's a fun thing to do. You get to interact with all the boys.
Lickville's scheduled to do one
The 13th.
Yeah, so welcome to join us.
But that made me think about something else. I'm not exactly sure when, and I would tell Aaron at Christmas, they asked us to come last year, and the boys, and we said, well, maybe we'll go, you know, one Thursday night or something like that. And kind of ho-hum, but did you really want to get out and go? But we went. And the boys pick a theme, and they decorate their houses. And you get on a bus, and they'll take you from one house to the other. And some of them will have hot chocolate or something. And we walked the streets of gold and saw the angels, and they sang. And just one of them did the Polar Express, and just the imagination. And they are absolutely thrilled that you took the time to come. Made me cry.
I knew you would.
But that's sometime it'd be the middle of December. It's worth your evening to go.
Are they out there on this road that Cityscape Wine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've been over in our neck of the woods.
Call us when you come. We'll make sure you don't get off.
It is. You know exactly where it is.
We kept going to each other's sons.
Lawrence County.
Yeah. Hickory Tavern.
Well, did you find Cityscape?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. I digress.
We looked at it as all of you have been through, where you go into something like this, and it ends up being a whole lot more of a blessing for you than the person that you're trying to help. But at the same time, we hope and pray that we had the opportunity to be a positive influence at the right time. Just what's the phrase? Preach sermon, or preach always, talk sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. It's just a matter.
Preach the gospel if necessary.
Yeah, right. That's it. But it was one of those situations where, we would take the meal in there, and RJ would have the blessing, and he would sing it. Had a pretty good voice, and he has been exposed to the gospel in whatever hellish situation he's been involved in. With somebody did it, so wasn't like we were introducing it to him, and we didn't try to present or do anything that we were doing in a religious way. It was just hopefully letting him see what the alternatives could be to maybe what he'd been exposed to. I think the staff is very caring. They're all very young, most of them. And yes, we'd be sitting in there in the conference room having our session with them, and we hear something on the intercom, code so-and-so. Everybody goes running. So same thing has happened here. There's a fight or somebody it's fairly constant. I can't imagine living in a situation like that. But I guess the good side of it is for them it's normal, and the hope and the prayer is that they're able to break out of it and not even carry that environment with them when they leave. So I guess the purpose of us relating our experience to you is, if you choose, since this is literally in your back door, relatively out there in the boonies, we call that our back door. You've literally got it in your back door here, where there may be an opportunity for the same kind of thing. And again, while there can be a lot of similarities, if you get involved in any way, whether it's corporately or individually, you may find the situation to be totally different. But I would say that the main thing if you get involved in it is don't leave your preconceptions. Because again, if RJ was here with us, you wouldn't know that the thing in the world had gone wrong in his life. And you don't know why, you don't know what, thank goodness. But you realize how easy it is for people to be in that kind of a situation, probably through no fault of their own.
Well, do they have counseling, someone they can?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are psychologists,
Okay.
I mean, psychiatrists there.
Okay.
In addition to all
You would think they'd
of the
have-
counselors are at least bachelor's, if not master's, educated in that field. And the two people that had the foster home are also professionals. Excuse me.
Right to say, I guess some of them probably best.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable talking to a regular person than somebody
Yeah. Well, they do an outstanding job, but just to give you an idea, the boys in the, we'll say, group home type situation, they can, and I guess that's true for RJ's group too, they can earn privileges during the week, like to be in the quiet room or something, that they can go and be by themselves for a while, or they get computer time to do that. But it's gone. Oh yeah, they they're quicker than normal. They're scheduled. They have a schedule every day, but there is a counselor or supervisor or staff there with them all the time. Someone is even there while they sleep. The staff watches them sleep, and they have to make notes on if they had a bad night or stuff like that. Just
Somebody told us, was it RJ or I can't remember, said that was the hardest thing for them to get used to when they came into this environment, is to be sleeping with somebody watching them all the time.
but they have to be sure there's no interaction or stuff going on that's not supposed to.
Like this,
If you,
over here, they don't have doors on
Yeah.
the bedrooms.
Well, these are in dormitory type
Oh, okay.
situation.
Well, for those of us that were in militaries, like open bay barracks kind
Oh, I
of thing.
see.
But I mean, not bunk beds, but well, some of them. No, they're not.
Yeah,
They try to create as much of an individual space as
Right.
possible. You know, I guess a dorm
Are you
situation.
always like 2-on-1, or do you ever have more than one?
no, well, over there on path, yeah, it's always just one.
So
Or
now
that,
that RJ's gotten a foster home, you have somebody new.
well,
We're in between.
we're in between. We have a new grandbaby in Tennessee in
Oh.
October, so RJ left, and so we'd start back after the first of the year.
And that'll be hard.
Yeah.
Because there'll always be that
Comparing to
comparison.
RJ, I
Yeah.
guess.
If you get somebody that's quiet and not very social, RJ was, like this. And so we're kind of spoiled.
They pick the person for you.
Well, it's
It's an
They
as-needed
did.
basis, more as somebody that doesn't have somebody.
that is a big,
You can go and visit with them one time, and if you don't hit it off, they'll find another volunteer to go with them.
from either side of the
Yeah, wherever.
thing. If we said, we can't do that one, which would be hard to do, or the kid says, I don't,
Yeah,
I mean,
the kid could have the It's like, these folks are too old for me to fund. That's exactly right. That's
They,
exactly.
they don't have electronic board games. But it all started from a desire for missions, for an I guess everybody's the same way. The hardest thing about doing something missional is finding out what's out there to begin with, especially something that you think you might be interested in doing. We've in Sunday school, we've been going through the basic tenets of the Reformed faith, and in this particular document, it went all the way back to the first question in the Westminster Catechism. So, but it did say, how do we glorify God and enjoy Him forever? And in this paragraph, it said the best way to do it is when the church is out there serving and becomes this beacon of light and salt that then attracts people to the church. Then, and I think when we do that, and obviously we do a lot of it here, we could take lessons from you. I think that everything just seems so much more alive. And with, I've never seen Lickville so alive. And those of you that know a lot of people at Lickville, we're an old bunch. And you should have seen some of that old bunch at that start party. So from that standpoint, even staid old me can recommend doing something like that. What else did you want to know?
No, those were just a few things. You mentioned differences with this facility and that. This facility, from what I know, same thing with hourly regimented time. As far as I know, at least the stated goal is none of the boys here have been involved in sexual abuse either way. So that would be a difference. It's all dormitory there, and as Shirley said, no doors. They either have 2 beds in a room or 3 sometimes. There's another thing I was going to say.
These children go to public schools,
In theory, yeah. Last I heard, none of them were yet, but I think now there are, because actually I saw Darren's wife. What is her name? Lisa, thank you. Lisa was coming by, and I'm assuming checking on somebody or setting something up. So
That reminded me of one thing. There's also another person that in our Lickville, and she's been doing this for years because she is a school teacher, is tutoring opportunities. I probably would have blown RJ's neck if I had tutoring instead of just visiting with him, but because she says she wants to. But yeah, you just have to see what the opportunities are.
no. Are there any more questions?
I think over here, did they have a classroom set up?
They do have a classroom set up, yeah, and they do very similar where they do online homeschooling for the kids who stay there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have. I know in this facility they have 5 levels, and 4 and 5. Unless you're in 4 or 5, you can't be out of the building unless it's an emergency or that sort of thing. And yeah, if
We were never in a situation where, regardless of why they're where they are, we're never in a situation where we felt uncomfortable or unsafe or anything's weird, especially since it was a sexual abuse kind of thing. Somebody asked if they ever said anything about their background. Somewhere in there, and this is where you wonder how things work. RJ just briefly one day said that his event or whatever happened when he was 5 years old. Now, whether he was working us or not, I don't know. But you just, in today's world, things get defined as something serious that in our day may not have been thought of exactly the same way. Good or bad, I don't know, but if you choose, I would not worry about the fact that, okay, there's a problem, a behavioral problem, or even a legal or criminal problem. We never thought about that. Nothing altruistic on our part. It's just, it's not an issue, except for staying away from it. What are you in for?
The reason to bring them was ultimately inspiration. Just to see what y'all have done. And I'm not saying, hey, go and sign up and do this exact same thing. But if this awakens something in you, if you feel the spirit tugging and saying, I could probably be involved, and there is a myriad of different ways you might be involved. It might be here, it might be over at Generations.
Down your cityscape.
Yeah, right, so you can stop by for a glass of wine.
Exactly.
Afterwards, yes, afterwards. That was the other thing that, don't worry about electronic gaming because they won't let you in with a cell phone or any electronic thing here. So there you go.
Well, now you can down there.
Yeah. If this inspires something in you that you want to be involved, pray it out, talk it out. I've actually brought a stack of volunteer sheets because do you need to get background checked and all that sort of stuff, and that takes a little while.
About that.
And they do I think it's a 3-hour training thing for volunteers, just so you know kind of what to expect and what's going on, that sort of stuff. And they ask that you get some CPR and that sort of training as well, if that is possible. But if you're interested with that, I can put you in contact with Dr. Goodwin, and she's in charge of kind of all of the volunteers, and she will find a place for you wherever you feel like you fit. If you feel like that's something you would like to do,
Well, we didn't learn CPR. We didn't have to do that, but we did have background check.
I was thinking the CPR could be used on us.
Yeah, right.
Let everybody else learn it. All the children.
Thank you.
Any other questions all around?
Oh, thank you for supper.
Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Why don't we end in prayer? You can say it if you want. Okay. Lord God, thank you for this opportunity to share with one another. Opportunities for sharing your love. This evening, Lord, we lift up RJ, wherever he is and wherever he will go. Thank you for the time that you set aside for he and Woody and Jane to be together. Thank you for all the lessons that they taught, even though they don't know that they did. Be with all of the young men at Generations, Youth Academy, for the tough situations and the kids who are just kind of caught up in things. For all the staff and the counselors and everybody involved. Thank you for the opportunities that you give us to share your love in big and in small ways. Bless us as we go out this evening. Keep us safe. Bless us as we enter into the Thanksgiving season, the Advent season. Help us to truly be thankful for all that you have given us. Prepare us well for the celebration of your coming into the world. Renew us with new years. Make us into a new creation. Transform us and even more every day into the image of Jesus Christ. was our Savior, our rock and our. It is through His name that we pray. All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate the
Of
opportunity.
course, yeah, definitely.